I'm fucking saying it, right? And I'm looking at you as I'm saying this, Alan Horror Fan Johnson. You're a fucking idiot. You know why? Because they do all this dumb bullshit.
Yes.
And have you seen all of these films?
As a conduit here for the whole horror community, yes, but I mean,
Good. Yes. Yes, you have. You're listening to Diminishing Returns, the podcast about sequels, prequels, spin-offs, and reboots. I'm Chris Scott, and across from me, he's the international man of mystery. He married an axe murderer. He's Wayne of Wayne's World. He's Wait, have I got mixed up again? Okay, it's Mr. Alan Johnson.
How do pod people?
The one, the only, the classic Halloween.
It is impossible to overstate the importance of John Carpenter's Halloween. The low-budget 1978 shocker was a giant success, masterfully made and hugely influential. And while it is debatable whether it is officially the first slasher movie or not, it certainly opened the floodgates to its many imitators, all of whom only served to elevate Halloween in status. The movie was never envisaged as the first installment of a franchise, but the surprise box office success saw a follow-up quickly put into production, with Carpenter and producing partner Deborah Hill reluctantly returning to write the script. The lukewarm response to Part 2 allowed the creators to take greater risks with Part 3, Season of the Witch, but their hopes of kickstarting an anthology series were dashed with the failure of the only Michael Myers-less sequel. The unhappy experience allowed Carpenter and Hill to step away completely from the franchise, which remained dormant for a few years, until the Nightmare on Elm Street films had reinvigorated interest in slashers in the later stages of the 1980s. Parts 4 and 5 would see Michael return to attempt to prune back more branches on the Myers family tree, and Part 6 from 1995 involved a young Paul Rudd, druidic curses, and featured the last screen performance by series stalwart Donald Pleasance. But the slasher heyday had passed and the franchise appeared dead. But with the release of Scream in 1996, a new generation of teen victims would face off against masked killers. These kids raised on slasher movies were more savvy than their predecessors, aware of the rules of the horror genre and how to exploit its tropes. This new multiplex-friendly breed of slashers opened up new possibilities for horror movies, and seizing on this opportunity, and the then upcoming 20th anniversary of the original Halloween, the producers retconned events of the franchise and lured back Jamie Lee Curtis, the original Scream Queen, who in the interim had become a legitimate star. But how did formerly unkillable Michael Myers fare in this new second wave of slasher cinema?
He has pursued her relentlessly. He has hunted her everywhere. Now, 20 years later, the face of good and the face of evil will meet one last time. Jamie Lee Curtis, Halloween, 20 years later.
Yeah, that's right. Jamie Lee Curtis has returned to the franchise, and instead of talking about that most recent film that was successful, we've decided to talk about Halloween H20. 20 years later, I think it's called, or some shit.
Yeah, Halloween H20, 20 years later. But it shares a little bit of DNA with the most recent Halloween.
Yeah, they're both Halloween films.
And
they both have Jamie Lee Curtis.
Both have Jamie Lee Curtis.
And
But
she
also
fights Michael Myers. Well done. Great film criticism there, Alan. Hey, you know these two films in the Halloween franchise? They actually share quite a bit of DNA. My mind is blown, sir. Well done.
I meant more in the fact that they both sort of just ignored what came before them and just decided what bits they were going to keep.
But instead of talking about the film that perhaps people might have seen, we're going to talk about H20, 20 years later, a title that alone slightly convoluted, much like I believe this series history is. Now, I have only seen 3 Halloween films.
Okay.
So I've seen the original, I've seen H20,
right,
and I've seen the one that came out last year, which was just called Halloween again. So I don't know much about the other sequels. The Season of the Witch sounds interesting.
The next Halloween film you should see is definitely Part 3, Season of the Witch.
Then I think it's at Halloween 2 or something that they reveal that Laurie Strode, who's Jamie Lee Curtis's character, is Michael Myers' sister.
Yeah.
That's a dumb idea.
A huge misstep in the franchise generally. One of the things that I did like that they removed from the 2018 Halloween, but they still keep that going here in H20.
In H20, H2O. Ooh. All right, cool. I obviously love the original. Original is one of my favourite films. Still great. Still holds up. You know, John Carpenter's probably made about maybe 3 or 4 all-time legit great movies. I love lots of his movies, but I think there's maybe like 3 or something that are great. And Halloween's one of them.
It certainly speaks to the importance of Halloween that it has been taken into like the National Film Archive in the US. Like it's a landmark film.
Yeah. I watched this, so I get the impression that this is thought of reasonably fondly because the other ones are terrible. Because this is, you know what I mean? Like, I've heard a few people be like, oh, H20 is okay. And H20 is very much okay. That is like, this film is like the definition of, well, you know. It's very slight. It does, I guess, try and have some sort of like Scream, I Know What You Did Last Summer kind of vibe. They've got a young Josh Hartnett.
Yeah, he gets an introducing credit here, so this is obviously his first film.
Yeah, it still looks about 15 years older than every other pupil at that school. Like, he just looks like a fucking grown man. Everybody in that film looks legit young, and he looks like a 28-year-old guy. Even though he probably wasn't. And Michelle Williams.
Jen from Dawson's Creek.
Yes, and of course, our favourite actor, LL Cool J, the ladies love Cool James. And of course, we've got Jamie Lee Curtis back.
Yeah, sadly, like, you know, we've lost Donald Pleasance. You know, he passed away after part 6. And they've decided to, instead of having that sort of manic presence, trying to warn everybody about this, like, malevolent evil force that just will continue to kill, we get the comic relief of LL Cool J, who appears to be writing some kind of erotic fantasy.
LL Cool J's character, the security guard at this rich white people's school, and his whole character revolves around the fact that he's trying to write dirty books and he phones his wife. Is she a cliched sassy black woman? Yes. Yes, she is. I'm assuming that we're meant to find this all hilarious. I'm assuming that I'm meant to be like, oh, wouldn't it be funny if he wrote terrible erotica and then had him read out legit boring terrible erotica like Garth Marenghi. The actual novel that he's writing should be hilariously bad, not just bad.
Garth, I know you once said one of the most beautiful things someone said to you was that they'd actually climaxed while reading one of your books.
That's right, yeah. I write scenes about making love. Now, some people might think that's just titillation.
You know what? I never thought I'd feel sorry for LL Cool J, but as I was watching this film, I was just like, oh man, you should be doing better than this. You know? This story also has another famous actor in it at the start as a young man who gets murdered by Michael Myers. Joseph Gordon-Levitt.
Yeah, he was obviously fresh from Third Rock from the Sun at this point.
Yeah.
Who I always get confused with John Gordon Sinclair, and the Gordon middle name.
And is David Gordon Green not the guy who directed the last one? Is that right?
Oh, don't confuse me further.
Yeah, sorry, that probably doesn't help. Does that help?
No.
Yeah, so the nurse from the original film, she comes home and it's like, oh, I've been broken into. And obviously we all know that Michael Myers is going to be being there. But this is one of the bits I quite liked in this film, is that they kind of delayed your gratification. They were like, we're not going to go immediately to the killing. It was actually quite nicely done. The actual start of this film, I was like, okay, this actually, it's very 90s. But I was like, this is all right.
It's directed by Steve Miner, who you may or may not remember, directed Friday the 13th, parts 2 and 3. So obviously when JGL shows up, he's wearing a hockey mask that's reminiscent of Jason.
He bumps into,
so you get a little Friday the 13th gag.
Yep, it's always good for me to remember other terrible films. And this film, Michael Myers, he's gone back to the nurse's house to get, I guess, the information about what's happened to Laurie,
yes,
his sister in this timeline. And now here's the thing: how does he know where the nurse lives? I don't understand where he's come from. He's like Cotton Eye Joe.
Well, it's really odd because obviously it's ignored parts 4, 5 and 6. So the last we knew within this timeline that we knew Michael, he'd been shot in both eyes by Laurie, and then Dr. Loomis, Donald Pleasance, had sent him up in a fireball.
Right,
so
okay.
At that point, he had been engulfed in flame.
20 years of recuperation.
20 years
he's been put on lotion, getting those burns sorted.
That's right. Obviously, he was waiting for his eyes to grow back.
Yeah, easy done. Yeah, that's fine. Okay. He hunts down this nurse.
She'd been looking after Dr. Loomis in his old age.
Yeah.
Yes.
Right. So he figures out where she lives somehow. He kills her. He kills the wee neighbour kids. That was fun. You can tell this was obviously also like not an R-rated film because you don't actually get to see a lot of gore or death. You don't get to see him actually murder them.
Yeah.
Which weirdly is obviously quite similar to the original. So Michael Myers, he finds out where the nurse lives, and in this story, Laurie Strode, Jamie Lee Curtis, has faked her own death.
Yes, after the events of part 2, but at some point she decided to fake her own death
And start anew.
Yes.
And how the fuck does this nurse know that? Because I guess Michael Myers finds the nurse, and something in the nurse's stuff is like, Laurie Strode, ... faked her own death, still alive, and lives in this fucking town, right? Because that's the only way that Michael Myers seems to know where she's got to. Otherwise, what I like to have thought is that he goes to the nurse's house, realises that she is no use. And actually what we don't see in the film is him driving through every state of the US. Just like driving around. Nope, she's not here. Going to Main Street. Have you seen this woman?
Just like the Terminator with the phone book, killing every Laurie Strode he comes across.
But so somehow, despite the fact that she's faked her own death, this random nurse that she knew 20 years ago evidently has been keeping in touch, and so Michael Myers goes to California.
Yeah, he goes cross country. He goes from the Midwest over onto the
Holiday
West Coast.
Who knows what kind of wacky adventures he gets up to. So we now get to California or whatever, and Jamie Lee Curtis, she's now the head mistress of a posh school.
Yes,
Her son goes to that school, Josh Hartnett.
Naturally.
She's got a little bit of a drinking problem, right?
Yeah.
But to be honest, seems to be doing quite well for herself. One of the other teachers, Adam Arkin, is definitely, I think, is pumping her.
Yes,
She's getting her home, she's got a decent job, and she's got a son, and he seems to be doing all right. Now, when this film came out, H20, Jamie Lee Curtis is back. It was a big deal. I remember it being a big deal.
It was a big deal,
Jamie Lee Curtis is back. And I remember thinking, wow, it'd be cool to see like an older Jamie Lee Curtis fight Michael Myers again. And it was this really cool thing, like round it off, because, now she's this, middle-aged woman, and it's like, she's going to fight back this thing from her youth. And I was like, that was the whole kind of vibe. And then as I was watching this, I realised that Laurie Strode is 2 years younger than me in this film. Right? I was aghast. I was like, wait, what? She's like they mentioned that she's 37, and I'm like, that's 2 years younger than me.
You immediately called up your 17-year-old son.
I was like, yes, this fucking bitch is doing all right. Right? Okay, the only thing me and her have got in common is the drinking problem. Right? But the lassie that's been tormented by an evil killer has a better life than me. I lost all sympathy for her. I was like, kill her, Michael. God damn it. Honestly, I just went, oh, God. Fuck. I'm an old man. And to be 100% clear, Jamie Lee Curtis looks better in her late 30s than I do. 100%. So anyway, old lady Jamie Lee.
But it's one of the aspects I really like about this film is that while it is made in this post-Scream landscape, it's sort of set up like a teen horror film. Obviously, you've got Michelle Williams, Josh Hartnett, the kid who played young Robin Williams in Jumanji, and his girlfriend. So you've got this group of teens. It's obviously set in a high school, but that's like the sort of B plot. The real story is about Jamie Lee Curtis, how she's dealing with her trauma. Not very well, because she's, drinking her problems away.
To be fair though, right, she has like a second glass of wine with lunch. Every office I've ever worked in, I would say then, if that's the criteria, 70% of the women I've ever worked with are mad alkies. Which is probably true, but that's just how Scotland and America are different. Everyone would be like, she just had a second glass of wine. In America, it's like, shit's gone real, I like the fact that she's back. I like the kind of story arc that she's tried to move on, but obviously Halloween, she gets a bit jittery. Because you know what women are like, can't let anything go. Hi, Chris here, the co-host of the podcast that you're listening to. Once again, dropping a free advert into my own show because I'm crazed with power like Donald Trump. So yes, I am running 2 comedy shows if you're in Glasgow on the first Sunday of every month at the Amsterdam Bar in the Merchant City, and if you're in the south side of Glasgow, Paisley Road West, the Old Toll Bar on the second Sunday of every month. So the first Sunday of every month at the Amsterdam Bar called Hard Lotion Comedy, and then on the second Sunday of every month, Paisley Road West, Old Toll Bar, the Old Toll Comedy Club. Each of those nights is only £3, and you'll have a professional circuit headliner and a whole host of some of the best acts from Glasgow and beyond for only £3. And also, I'll be at them, so there's that. So hopefully we'll see you there. Bye. But this is what I don't like about this film, is that I feel it's like two films they're trying to make at the one time. One is like a bit more like the latest Halloween, where it's like Jamie Lee Curtis's story. This is about her facing her fear. But they're like, nobody wants to see, in Hollywood terms, an old lady again.
Yeah, it's so
2
bizarre.
2 years younger than me right now. So we have to kind of make a lot of this film about her son, Josh Hartnett, who, by the way, you can tell that he's kind of a cool, rebellious kid because he doesn't do his tie up all the way. It's very good work there, Hollywood. Well done, director. Oh, he's such a rebel.
I quite like how when there's an interaction between him and LL Cool J, and LL Cool J tells him to comb his hair because he's got a really odd haircut.
Yeah. It was the 90s, man. It was a different time.
I've got real issues with the school uniform policy. This is meant to be, as you've said, like a posh, paid educational establishment. So they should have strict uniform policy. Everyone should dress the same way. But it doesn't. It's done that horrible thing where it makes quirky character beats coming through their uniform. So Josh Hartnett's got his shirt untucked and his tie undone a little bit. And then to show that Michelle Williams' character is quote unquote poor, her shirt doesn't quite match the others. It's got pinstripes and stuff on it. It just annoys me when you see. But where I do like that though is Jamie Lee's wearing sort of like a beige outfit that echoes the clothes she wears to school in the first film.
Right.
And then when she faces down Michael, she's wearing this blue sweater and denims just like in the first film.
Yeah.
As much as I don't like the school uniforms, and Josh Hartnett should totally comb his hair and put his tie up.
Yeah, you little fucking no good Nick.
Everything in Laurie's harking back to that first film.
Yeah, and again, that's what it feels like. This film's a real missed opportunity in that there's lots of good ideas about it, and her facing down Michael Myers again is great. And the idea of her character trying to move on and all that, again, kind of done in the 2018 Halloween as well, but just done a bit more seriously. And this, it just seems like, what do the kids like? They like scream, okay, we'll make it all teenagers again, but this time it's the son of Jamie Lee. But also, he doesn't kill that many people in this film. When you're watching a Jason, Jason's murdering all day. Do you know what I mean? Jason's just like, you do what you love, you never have to work a day in your life. He's got a work ethic, Jason. Like, he's been underwater, he's been fucking buried, but as soon as he gets up, there's no fucking about. He's like, right, let's kill some people, maybe gets through about 3 or 4 before lunch, has lunch with the head of his dead mother, and then, right, clock's back on, let's get a few more kills in. While Halloween is a much better film, Michael Myers is a much better bad guy than Jason, we have to be honest, lazy bastard. This is why he's been retooled for these millennials. Do you know what I mean? But these work-shy, indolent kids, of course they love him.
Like John Carpenter says, there should never have been any further Halloween films.
Of course not.
His big issue is that Michael Myers is just the absence of character. Like, he's just meant to be this single-purpose killing thing. And the issue you have with everything else in the franchise is that they're trying to fill in these gaps that nobody had planned for.
Or cares about.
It was just meant to be this crass exploitation film. It just turned out that because Carpenter's so good at working with nothing, like the shark in Jaws, if the shark doesn't work, then you withhold the shark. Same things going on in Halloween. They didn't have the budget to do certain things, but it makes for more creative solutions, makes for a better film. So you have this character that shouldn't have gone on beyond the first film. And when Loomis shoots him out the window at the end and you see his body, and then you look out the window and the body's vanished, Carpenter admits that was only done to fuck with the audience's head. Like, it wasn't meant to be.
It wasn't setting up anything.
Oh, he's coming back.
But here's the thing that I think we find with a lot of sequels. I think it's in William Goldman's Adventures in the Screen Trade. He talks about when he's doing The Invisible Man and Chevy Chase, and I think it's Invisible Man and Chevy Chase.
Interestingly, a John
Interesting,
Carpenter film.
Actually, that's right. But supposedly the studio and Chevy Chase are like, we want to give him more backstory and we want to, let the audience know about this and that in this character's life. And William Goldman's fighting against this because he's like, actually, if we over-explain everything, it ruins the magic. When you watch Casablanca, Rick talks about being somewhere else and knowing these characters from somewhere else. It's just like, remember this happened? And it's the same in Star Wars or whatever, which now, of course, they've slightly ruined, but, I've done the Kessel run in blah, 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 or many Bothans died, the Clone Wars. By saying these things, it builds a bigger world, but you don't then go, well, actually, what happened was that it was actually clones of Boba Fett. Because that would be terrible, right? With a character like Michael Myers, like you say, he is just this cold killing machine. The more films you have with him in it, they have to be like, oh, well, actually, it was his sister, and actually, and everyone knows each other, and blah, blah, blah. And they start trying to have too many things. And it can't support that. This machine was built for one thing. One film.
The knock-on effect is that Rob Zombie comes along and remakes these films with the Robert Zombie stamp all over it. And so he fetishizes the bad guy, which ultimately is the worst thing to do with the whole thing. He's meant to be the bad guy. We're meant to root for the people to survive. Like, it's
and does he not have loads of backstory for Michael Myers in that film?
He does.
I've
He
not seen it,
expands all the backstory. But let's talk about Michael Myers. I mean, I don't know if you noticed.
Yeah, baby!
But the thing is, it's well known that basically they didn't even have a plan for the mask, and then they're producing the first film, and the guy goes off to the shop and comes back with 3 masks. One's like a kind of generic domino mask, one is a clown mask, and the other is this William Shatner mask. And they basically go, paint William Shatner white and cut out his eye holes. Boom, like a horror icon is born.
Yeah, and I mean, it does look cool because it is this weird misshapen face, which is what William Shatner's face looks like now.
The mask has changed throughout the franchise generally. Very subtle ways. Just somebody's trying to recreate this thing from the first film. And I don't know if you noticed in this movie, but there was loads of reshoots, so the mask doesn't match throughout the film.
Oh, wow.
And so you have sequences where you can really see Michael Myers' eyes, which is ironic because this is meant to be a sequel to the second film where he has his eyes shot out.
Right, okay.
There's a sequence where they actually CGI over the mask because early footage came out and people were like, the mask looks shit. They'd gone,
really?
The hair was really slicked back and it really pronounced eyebrows. But obviously you didn't notice that there was sort of reshoot sequences that the mask didn't match up throughout the whole
again,
movie.
I was watching it on my laptop in bad light, and I was also very disinterested in something. I'm not gonna lie, because as I said, I really like Halloween, the original, and I really enjoyed 75% of the 2018 sequel. And I'd heard this was one of the better ones, which makes me think I'll never watch the other ones apart from Season of the Witch. Now that I've seen this whole film to me was just like, there's some really good ideas here. We're never gonna really fully commit to any of these ideas. Half of it's like falling around these kids, but nothing really. Like 2 kids get murdered.
Yeah.
I don't even care about the kids. Nothing happens in this film. Can we just make something happen? But there is a bit where Michael Myers, he basically steals a car.
Yes.
Right? Now, I don't know about you, Alan. When it comes to the Halloween movies, I don't put him, I think, God, I really hope I get to see Mike Myers steal a car and then drive cross country. And I like the idea that he's also got the mask on while he's doing this.
Yes,
right? So like you're sitting at traffic lights and you turn round and there's like this fucking guy in overalls and a fucking weird William Shatner mask just being like, hey man, how you getting on? All right. Oh, there's the light green. Bye. Or flashing his lights, letting somebody get ahead of him, He's got to stop and get fuel at some point if he's driving cross country. So, like him just like walking up, number 4, please. I'll pay by cash. Thanks. So there's things like that just annoy me. But he steals this car off this woman who goes to the toilet with her daughter. Because at one point I thought they were going to murder her and the kid, and I was dead excited. Because I was like, something's going to happen. And then they didn't even murder the child.
It's funny how that sequence is like echoed in the 2018 version.
That's there is a bit in the 2018, except in the 2018 one, murder happens.
Yeah.
So basically, Michael Myers just having a nice wee drive to himself. And I get the impression that at some point they were like, we're releasing a horror film where we've not seen anyone get murdered yet. We probably need to, we need to see somebody get murdered. So obviously, Michael Myers, he finds the school. And again, and I understand why it's done for budgetary constraints and all that, but like, it just happens that on Halloween, all the pupils that stay there go away on a trip. So there's only like 2 teachers and LL Cool J, who evidently works 24 hours, right?
Yes.
He's there all day. This is about the exploitation of African Americans, this film, right? You're watching this film and you're like, this guy needs a union because he's working far too many hours.
But I don't mind the fact that the majority of the school pupils leave, because it conforms to that rule of the isolation of a slasher movie, that you need a sort of isolated location, so that school then becomes this weirdly insular location with limited people that you're going to kill your way through. I don't mind that. But there is literally, it's a wild contrivance, but at the same time, those bigger, more contrived things going on, that it was Josh Hartnett turning 27 turning 17 that has triggered Michael Myers to come and find Laurie Strode. In comparative terms of what's aggravating me about the stuff that's going on, like
that's not in your top 5.
Yeah, I don't mind that the school pupils have all fucked off.
Yeah, so basically Michael Myers finds them all in the school and he kills 2 of the kids, and then there's a chase sequence which is really funny because it's basically like Michelle Williams and Josh Hartnett are like, oh god, this guy's coming to kill us, oh my god, and they just like go, oh, let's just go into this bit and close the door, and then it's like, alright, cool, well that was easy to escape from this fucking guy. Literally the only reason he manages to get in anywhere else is because they drop the keys, right?
Yeah.
If they'd not dropped the keys, was Michael Myers just like stuck and they'd be like, well, I guess we'll just phone the police? It feels like that was the easiest escape of all time.
I quite like the fact though that Josh Hartnett just starts like punching Michael Myers in the face. Like, it shows a shift in how people deal with these killers. In Scream, Ghostface has continually been hit on the head with things or been kicked in the balls or whatever. So it is a dynamic shift in, for example, Friday the 13th, we only ever see like Jason get hit for like comedic purposes. So you hit him and he doesn't even flinch.
Yeah.
So I quite like that bit.
So yeah, so he's kind of chasing about, trying to pick them off, and then we've talked about how unrealistic this film is. But I want to give one point to absolute realism, because there's a bit where a scared white man with a gun shoots an innocent LL Cool J. They literally accidentally shoots LL Cool. He just sees a black guy run at him, and Adam Arkin shoots him, and I went, "Oh, that's realistic. That is the one thing that would happen." Poor bastard. He's been working 24/7 for the last week. He's delirious, and now some fucking asshole teacher has shot him. That's
Killed
the
the
sort of
black
thing
guy.
that a cleverer film might have made a joke about, or made more of a deal of. You know, it was the 90s. It was a different time. We didn't think about racism then, guys.
LL Cool J, he made H20 and in the following year made Deep Blue Sea. Did he not make some reference to being like the black guy that's not...
Always gets killed first in Deep Blue Sea. There is a joke about that.
But
yeah.
he also survives in H20.
Adam Arkin, he wounds him. LL Cool J is actually quite sanguine about the whole thing.
He's pretty chill, isn't
At the
he?
end, it's you know, I would be a bit like, your fucking dickhead boyfriend shot me.
Maybe he's just in shock. Like, he's not really...
Yeah.
Like, when he collects his thoughts, he's like, right, well, the payout I'm getting for being shot in the fucking head, that's going to fund 50 Shades Cool J.
Yeah, 50 Shades of J.
Yeah.
Okay, guys, you're listening to our episode on Halloween H20. If you've got any comments about this film or any other film or anything else, email us at diminishingpod@gmail.com. You can get us on Twitter at diminishingpod. On Facebook, we are Diminishing Returns Podcast, and you can tag us and stuff at Diminishing Returns Pod on Facebook as well. On Instagram, we're at Diminishing Pod. We have a blog at diminishingpod.wordpress, and we've got a couple of videos on YouTube. Just search for Diminishing Returns Podcast. We also have our episodes up on Spotify, so if you prefer to stream your podcast entertainment, you can listen to us on Spotify. We are an independent podcast. That means that we need your help. So we need you to tell your friends to listen to this podcast. Send them a link to the specific show. And please rate and review us on iTunes, iHeartRadio, Stitcher, all of your podcast apps. Rate and reviews, because it helps new people find the show. Thanks, guys. There's cool bits in this, but again, it was kind of weird. Like we kind of think the children are going to be a big bit of it, and then Jamie Lee Curtis is just like, right, well, I'm going to go back and murder this fucking guy. You guys fuck off and go to the police.
It's made to be like a Scream high school horror film, but they sideline the kids almost.
The people who are the most important basically are people in their late 30s who are still young and cool. I'm really starting to come around in this.
Just want to reassure yourself that you could tentpole a movie.
Yeah, or that I could kill a person with an axe. I've got two dreams. One, to star in a film. Second, murder someone with an axe. You know, with my upper body strength, I actually think the film one's more likely. There is a really cool bit. So she basically sends the kids away, and Michael Myers has killed her boyfriend. As far as she's aware, LL Cool J's dead. Friendly fire. He's tried to kill her kid, and she's just like, fuck this. Josh Hartnett, Michelle Williams, off you pop. And then she just basically walks back with an axe going, come and get some. And I'm like, yeah, all right, this is fucking cool. And then, I'm not gonna lie, this Steve Miner fella, is he a good director? He's not a bad director, but it's all pretty average. There's nothing exciting. Like that final battle when she comes in, I'm like, oh yeah, but it's not even shot that well. It should be iconic when she's just like, I've had 20 years of this fucking pain in the hoop. And it's just filmed like a TV movie.
It's a shame because that actual thing, you know, from the moment that they lock eyes and Jamie Lee comes face to face with Michael Myers, from that moment, it should really have like switched gears, and it could really have pressed that thing that she is going to destroy him. How it plays out isn't that exciting.
Yeah,
so
and he's
she
like,
gets in a battle with Michael. She doubles down on the knives. He's got one knife, so she's got two kitchen knives, and she attacks him, pushes him over the banister. He hits the deck, echoing slightly.
Yes, absolutely.
Coming out of the window. She goes downstairs. She's just about to kill him because we all know the killer's going to come back. But when she's about to stab him in the face and be done with the whole thing, LL Cool J comes in and stops her doing the deed.
Don't worry, he's dead. It's like, well, if he's dead, just let her fucking do it, man. just let her fucking stab the cunt in the face.
What does it cost you?
Yeah, and also, I'm upset with her because she should have been like, whoa. I know this is your first time, okay? But this is my third now.
Yeah.
All right? I'm going to stab him in the face, slit his throat, and fucking stab him in the ankle just in case. Right? I'm going to fucking cut his balls off if need be just to make sure. But no, she's like, you're right. I mean, I know we shot him in the face twice last time and he's somehow still back. I'll just leave him with a couple of stab wounds. Nonsense.
Yeah.
And LL, every murder after that's on you, pal.
Outside, she decides no, she has to finish it, so she jumps in the coroner's van and she steals his body, drives off.
Yeah, well, also, here's another thing, right?
Okay.
She fucking hijacks this coroner's van with Michael Myers' body inside it. She drives and she drives and she drives. And she drives for ages, like 10 minutes or something. In film continuity, I know you don't see it for 10 minutes, right?
Yeah.
Past the school, she's down a wee side. Have you got like a perfect spot you want to kill him at? Have you got like a picnic table laid out or something? Once you're in the side road, pull over, kill him, start stabbing or fucking throw the body out, run it over. But no, she's like, do I want to kill him there? No, it's not really got the right light. So of course, she's driving about. Eventually, you see the body start to move in the body bag. And at this point, she just like ends up crashing down like a wee hill or something. He falls out of the car.
Yes.
And is trapped between the coroner's van and like some bit of wood.
Tree trunk, yeah.
Yeah, that's a bit of
She's
wood.
throwing.
And what I will admit was fucking cool. She just comes up and chops his fucking head off.
Yeah,
Great.
It's a great moment, and it's how the franchise should have put a full stop to things. This movie isn't perfect. There's stuff in it that I like, quite a lot that I like. But that moment when she comes face to face with him, he sort of comes to his senses almost, like, and tries to remove the mask. They reach out for one another, and she thinks, no, fuck you, chops the head off.
Beautiful.
It's great, but they were already banking on this film was going to be a hit, so they film at that point.
I read
the
about this.
sequence of how Michael Myers survives the head chopping, so that they can use it a couple of years later in Halloween Resurrection.
From what I understand, he puts the mask on a paramedic or something.
Yes,
And so that this is actually the ending to Laurie Strode's story is that she kills an innocent person.
yes.
Well done, everyone. Well done, filmmakers.
Which in Halloween Resurrection, that has driven her over the edge. She's had a complete breakdown. She's
Is
in
she
a
in that as
mental
well?
institution. So she's in the opening sequence of that, and it flashes back to let you know that Michael Myers crushed the larynx of the paramedic, put him in the mask. Michael Myers escapes dressed as a paramedic. Laurie Strode chops this poor dope's head off. That guy apparently was a father of 3 children. So
That's hilarious. That is fucking legitimately. I'm actually back on board with this now.
Okay.
Oh,
So
he also gave money to orphans in his spare
yeah,
time and was only about a week away from solving cancer. Sorry, Jamie Lee Curtis. Boy, is your face red.
So she has a breakdown throughout that, and she's now institutionalized. But Michael Myers comes along and kills her.
Wow.
And then the actual bulk of that movie is Busta Rhymes has people round for a live stream reality television show set in the Michael Myers house, and Busta Rhymes tases Michael Myers in the dick at one point.
I mean, hilarious. I saw about 10 minutes of that when I was flicking through channels.
Right.
And I went, this looks
It
unbelievably
is
bad.
terrible, and underlines the fact that H20, it should have just stopped. Jamie Lee gets to come back. She gets to have a moment with Michael Myers. She gets to deal with trauma in 2 ways. One, she's been drinking her problems away. That's not been working, so decapitates her past trauma.
Yeah, I'm
And
down
it's
with that.
great. Obviously, it ties back to other horror lore. We've got Jamie Lee Curtis's mother in this film, Janet Lee.
Yes,
Obviously,
of course, was in
is
Psycho.
in Psycho. She at one point gives Jamie Lee a scare, which echoes the sort of Sheriff Brackett thing of like, oh, I guess everybody's entitled to one good scare on Halloween. She then gets to say, oh, if I could be maternal for a moment, and you're like, oh,
That was
that's
nice,
a nice
because
line.
it is 2 Hollywood legends. I mean, Janet Leigh and Jamie Lee Curtis are both amazing.
Yes.
And it's nice to see them on screen together.
Janet Leigh's character, Norma, obviously Norma Norman,
Right, okay.
and she was driving the car that she had in Psycho.
Psycho, right,
Yeah, when
okay.
she makes a getaway with the money.
Quite interesting that obviously we talked about in the first Friday the 13th is heavily indebted to Psycho as well.
Yes,
it's really great when 2 not very good films remind you of a real great film. Oh, great.
Well,
I love thinking to myself, why am I watching this piece of shit when I could be watching Psycho?
Yeah.
Well done, guys.
Psycho, a franchise where all of the sequels are good.
I do seem to remember quite liking Psycho 2. Much better than it should have been.
It's insane how good that film is. The only reason people don't talk about it in glowing terms is because it's a sequel to one of the best and most recognisable films of all time.
Yeah.
But Psycho 2, as a sequel and as a film in its own right, is fucking amazing.
Alright, so listen, I think the important thing is we should all watch Psycho and then actually maybe watch Psycho 2. But not watch that shot for shot remake thing, because that seemed pointless.
So in summation then, you know...
Alfred Hitchcock is better than Stephen Miner.
Yes. And obviously...
I mean, I'd say this is a minor film in many ways.
Kevin Williamson wrote the story, but then because of other things he had going on, he couldn't actually get full credit on it. He had written Scream and Scream 2,
Yeah, which
and
are
he was
great.
away doing Dawson's Creek as well at that time. Obviously, he changed sort of like
Yeah.
teen
Do you
representation.
think he took
like,
on so much stuff because, you know, he didn't want to wait for his life to be over? When I was watching this, it was like, if it's a story by credit, like, I don't know if he did much of the actual screenplay, because it felt like somebody had sort of set up, like, oh, these are all the cool pieces we should have. And then what I'll need to do is do some drafts where I put in actual funny and scary bits.
Yeah.
And then he's moved on and somebody else has went, well, that's all we need. That'll do. And you're like, no, that's just your tent poles that you need to put stuff along. No, okay, I guess not. Because Scream's great. Scream's a great film. And
Yes,
I remember enjoying Scream 2 as well. And 3.
Scream 2, I think, is really good. Scream 3 has interesting stuff going on in it. It's not a patch on the first one.
No.
And 4...
I don't think I've seen 4.
What's smart about 4 is what it's actually saying about horror films and how they've changed in the time since the original Scream is really interesting and makes the film much better for it.
All right, okay.
Because it's aware that, you know, where the first film was dealing with from the original slashers to the rebirth of slashers, how aware they were of all that stuff. Scream 4 is aware of the time that has passed between Scream 3 and Scream 4, and it's really smart and deals with stuff that's going on culturally and in horror films.
I'll give that a swatch.
Yeah.
You've seen all the Halloween films?
I have, yes.
Where does it rank in your rankings? If you were a member of the Beat and you were ranking Roger,
Right. Halloween for me goes Halloween 2, which I think is great. It's nice and nasty.
Oh, okay.
Then H20, Halloween 6, Curse of Michael Myers, just because it's a bit bonkers. Then Halloween 2018, then Halloween 4, 5.
If you said 3, it's 3.
Yeah, just 3 I'm keeping out of it. It's its own thing.
Okay, right.
If you need me to rank it, I'm putting Halloween 3 second.
Right, aye. Yeah, because it's...
So it's going 1, 3, 2, 20.
So is H20 above 2018 for you?
Yes, I much prefer this. I think it is covering a lot of the ground that Halloween 2018 covers, but I think it's done better here. Like, seeing Jamie Lee as an alcoholic.
No, I prefer it because she's much older than the latter one. I don't feel bad about my life. Okay, well, I've only seen 3 of them. This is the worst of the 3.
But
I've only seen 3, so that could still be...
What you've missed out on is, by and large, the not great stuff, especially if this isn't a franchise that you have a great affinity for. You've missed everything that's not essential to what's going on.
Yeah. So you would recommend that people see this film?
Yeah, I like it, and I like it because it fits in that Scream era of horror films quite neatly.
Okay. That's interesting.
But it's got something going on which works in its favour, which is you're really dealing with adults more than you're dealing with kids. Like Jamie Lee and her scenes with Adam Arkin are really great. Apart from where Adam Arkin's trying to bone her and she's telling him about how like her brother killed her sister, and he's like, "Oh, take your clothes off." Oh, dude, come on.
I think the way it's played though is that he's thinking that this isn't real. Like she's doing
it's like a Halloween scary story, right?
And then he kind of goes, there's a bit where he goes, "Wait, are you serious?" Also, secondly, I think he's thinking, I'm about to bone Jamie Lee Curtis.
Yeah.
Can we just not have this conversation right now? Like, can we leave this to 4 minutes time? We'll be fine.
But Jamie Lee Curtis, like, obviously made her film debut in Halloween. That was her. She had been a TV actress, even though, like, obviously Hollywood royalty, his parents, she was just a TV actor. You know, nepotism at that time isn't what it is in 2019. Nepotism today. So she goes Halloween, The Fog, Prom Night, Terror Train, Road Games, and then Halloween 2. And that's just from 1978 to 1981. She rattles out all of those horror movies. So she is a bona fide scream queen. Like, she really made her bones being in, like, these fairly sleazy horror movies. And then in 1983, like, sort of became a giant star with Trading Places.
Brilliant, great film, love that film.
From then on, it's just been the legend of Jamie Lee. And I love the fact that she's come back to this franchise for the 2018 Halloween.
I really enjoyed 2018 Halloween, and it's good that she's getting a good part again. It's good that she's had a couple of goes at finishing off this story. And now we're at like 3 fucking goes of this getting an ending. And more, because they're going to do 2 sequels to the new Halloween. So, you know. So basically, Jamie Lee Curtis will be killing Michael Myers until she dies. Effectively.
Yes.
Just we'll keep making these films. Obviously, you're a resident horror fan, and I am merely a neophyte into this area of films. You recommend this, and I think that this does prove that all horror fans are fucking idiots. Thanks for listening. Because that's what happens when you die, you shit yourself.
Yes, you just void your bowels.
Yeah, she should have walked in and been like, holy shit, who shot himself?
She's a medical professional as well. She's
she should know the signs. She's fucked. She deserved to die.
I think he'll come back.